Yo guys, what's up? It's Tom, and today I'm just going to run you through the principles on how to get shredded, but without absolutely destroying your recovery, running yourself into the floor, and getting crazy amounts of cravings that just make you deviate from the plan and revert back to where you started. So this weren't initially going to be my video today, guys. I've got another video which is for in the afternoon when I film, but this was just a bit of an impulsive video that I wanted to film. I was having a conversation with one of the lads who just joined the university, and I was asking him what his struggles were, and he straight away said he just gets really bad cravings and just can't stick to a diet because of his hunger. So I thought, you know what? I gave him some advice, and I thought I'm going to share a YouTube video this morning with you guys on all the principles I'd apply and look out for to make sure you can get as lean as you want without having to feel like you're running the floor, no energy, cravings. You can't think about anything other than food all the time, because guys, getting shredded in reality is not that hard. You need to eat less and move more. But when it comes to retaining tissue, improving performance, improving energy, that's where it gets more difficult. Because guys, getting in shape should improve you as a person. It should not take away from you as a person. I think far too often I see people say, oh, I don't want to diet, I don't want to lose body fat, I just get no productivity, I lose my focus, I lose my energy, I get fucking soft dick, all this stupid shit, right? That should not happen if you are optimizing everything and making sure you're taking control of the right variables. So we're going to start from A to Z. Every single thing you need to know about getting shredded, but doing it in a sustainable way, which makes it easy and really simple to keep the body fat off. You don't just want to go absolutely crazy aggressive and then revert back to where you were. You want to keep that body fat off, and that's actually going to put you in a much better position for when you enter a lean gain phase. You're going to be much more responsive to your food, better insulin sensitivity, and just allow you to look better, feel better the whole time when you focus a little bit more on performance in that gaining phase. So I've got my book of notes that I wrote down. Okay, now I want to keep it really simple. To start off with, we just need to set ourselves up for success. So before you even think about delving into a serious diet phase and getting shredded, you just need to make sure you're mentally ready but also physically ready. So just preparing yourself that, yeah, we're not going to play the victim, we're going to get stuck in. And then from a physical standpoint, we want to start our diet phase from maintenance. So I always recommend a good 2-week period up at maintenance calories with your macros optimized, so we can drive up your performance, your energy, your recovery, your health, because a healthy, well-recovered body full of energy with great performance is going to respond however the fuck we want it to respond. Imagine you've got a bar chart for performance, energy, health, recovery. We want those all up in the green before we even think about delving down into a diet phase to get shredded. So with the correct macros, lifestyle management in place, this should easily be sorted within 2 weeks. And then once we've got them up, we can sustain those levels the whole way through the diet phase. So that's phase one. Also, starting from that higher point gives you so much scope to pull from. If you jump straight down and go really aggressive at the start, it makes it very difficult. Yes, you can lose some weight initially, but to get into elite condition, it's going to make it virtually impossible for yourself without having to do 6 hours cardio a day and eating no food. And that's where the cravings come in, the appetite goes up and the recovery goes down, and you just revert back to exactly where you were before you started. So that ties into point 2. And an analogy I like to use is we want to squeeze every single thing out of the lemon before we grab a new lemon. Okay, and by that what I mean is start at maintenance, make a necessary pull from your carbohydrates predominantly, a little bit of fats maybe. Sorry, from your fats predominantly and a little bit of carbs maybe, keeping the carbs as high as possible, and also utilizing a bit of cardio. So from food, carbohydrates and fats, and from cardio, we create that deficit. Initially 400-500 calorie deficit. And that's all we want to create if we're looking to get shredded. Because what we want to do is treat this like a step ladder. We're not trying to do the whole thing in 1 week. It's like the tortoise and the hare. You could pull everything away and go max cardio. The problem there is, guys, you may make a little bit more progress in the first 2 weeks, but you're stuck and you've still got 10 weeks left of body fat to pull with nowhere to go with food, with nowhere to go with cardio. Your recovery's in the floor, you can't stick to it, your cravings are crazy. So every little bit at a time. So effectively, we make a gap, we squeeze every bit out of that lemon, and as soon as the body stops responding to that, maybe after 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, we make another dig. Squeeze everything out, make another dig. Squeeze everything out, make another dig, and play the long game with it. Depends on the body fat you're starting from, but just make sure you're taking it each step at a time, and don't play this for get it done in 2 weeks. Just take it nice and steady. In terms of like a KPI on what I would be looking for, which is a key performance indicator in terms of rate of progress, I personally like between 1 to 2.5 pounds a week. So really between 0.5 and 1.5% of total body mass lost per week on average. So if you weighed yourself every single day, average them all out, and then the next week you would want to have lost at least 0.5 to 1.5%. Anything above that, you may lose a little bit more of that in the first week or so from water retention, but trying to go for more than that, honestly, is gonna make it extremely tough. Honestly, 1 pound to 2 pounds a week on average doesn't seem like much, but if you stack that over 12 weeks, 16 weeks, you will be a different human being. Trying to lose 5 pounds in 1 week, 5 pounds in your next week, losing 10, and then you're stuck and you go back, is nowhere near as good as just losing 24 pounds, for example, over a 12 to 16 week period. Next point, whole foods predominantly, and this just allows us to get one, better digestion, better gut health, which our gut is going to really stem a lot of the appetite and craving issues. But as well as eating whole, as well as just from the gut benefits, eating whole foods is going to give us a lot more volume for the same amount of calories. Okay, so if we think of, let's say, something like potato versus eating loads of sugary sweets and bars, you're going to have a much greater volume on the plate, which is going to help you stay a lot more full. What you can also do that I've put down is you can increase the proportion of veg on your plate. So when things, I would again save this as a little bit of a tool for later on in the diet phase, but as you do start getting a little bit more appetite, you can push your veg up. So maybe from like 100, 150 grams of veg per meal, non-starchy veg specifically, you could start working that up to 200, even 250 at later stages in the diet phase. So you predominantly have a plate of whole food, high volume. People will be looking, thinking, how are you eating all of that food? But from a calorific standpoint, it may be a plate of 400 calories, 500 calories. Whereas most people who aren't that educated on food would look at that and think, Jesus, you're eating 2,000 calorie meals, because if they were to eat the foods they were eating at that volume, they would be looking at 2,000 to 4,000 calories on a plate. Okay, so utilizing whole foods, improve gut health, reduce cravings, and also a little bit more veg on the plate for satiation reasons. Now, when it comes to macronutrient structure, this is another thing that we can deploy. Now, as a rule of thumb, if we're talking about physique and intramuscular fullness, higher carb, lower fat, in my opinion, is going to give the best aesthetic, because carbohydrates, it's in the word, hydrates the muscle. Okay, so as a ratio, if you had higher carbs and lower fats, protein the same either way, the higher carbs approach would give you a bit more intramuscular fullness, bit better training performance, but can slightly increase appetite because it's a little bit less satiating, despite extra volume from having more volume with carbs and fats because of the calorie density. The problem is lower fats can spike appetite, because if you go for a higher fat, lower carb, what happens is the fats keep you satiated because of gastric emptying. So fats slow down the rate at which you digest food. And what that does, guys, means that you'll stay fuller for longer by having a higher fat diet to a higher carb. Now, obviously when it comes to physique, I am a fan of higher carb. So what I would actually do to get the best of both is go moderate carb, moderate fats. Or you could go high carb, low fats. And if you got to points where cravings started kicking in, this is what I will do occasionally, is I'll go higher carb, lower fat when I want to start driving my physique in at faster pace. But then what I'll do is, if I notice my appetite is starting to get a little bit high, I'll flip and I'll go higher fats, lower carbs for a period of time, and then I'll drive back to my high carb and low fat. So you could go high fat, low carb the whole way, and that would be best in my opinion for appetite, but I like to manipulate the macros a little bit. Higher fats as a byproduct will give you slightly improved appetite. Now, the next thing I've put down is water intake. So wherever I am always with water. I'm dieting at the moment. I've probably got another 5 weeks of dieting left. Quite a while, to be fair. I'm roughly, I would say, I don't know, 10% body fat at the moment. I want to get down to 7-ish. I've got a few campaigns coming up with work, and I just like to lead from the front with clients. Again, I always take it in a really sustainable way, but when I'm dieting, the one thing that anyone who follows my socials, you see my daily habits, clients will see I'm always doing the check-ins with water by me. I drink a lot of water, 5-6 liters of water, even out here when I'm in Bali at my villa here. Sometimes even closer to 7, just because as you can see right now, I'm sweating. It's so humid, so hot, and keeping hydrated, it just keeps my stomach fuller. So honestly, if you're getting hungry, just drink more water to stay full. Now, I follow that up with caffeine. Caffeine will also have appetite suppressant properties. So I will, again, in a diet phase, deploy a little bit more caffeine, whether that's black coffee or with a little bit of almond milk maybe. Maybe it's a 0-calorie Monster. I wish I could get them in Bali, but I can't. Black coffee is definitely the healthier option. I will definitely save myself so I can deploy a little bit more caffeine in a diet phase, because it really, really helps with appetite, but it helps with focus, it helps with energy. So I'll always wake up, I'll hydrate in the morning, and I'll caffeinate. I'll probably have 2 to 3 coffees a day, as well as my 6 liters of water. I do cook caffeine though by midday, just because of the half-life. I don't want it affecting my sleep, because sleep's also a huge driver of appetite, which I'm going to talk about in a second. So make sure you're hydrated. That's huge. Following that up, sleep, okay? So the one thing why we want to cook caffeine in the middle of the day is because we don't want it to affect our sleep. So having that energy in the morning and basically allowing us to suppress the appetite with caffeine is really good, but we don't want to let it impact our sleep. And also we just want to have good habits and discipline when it comes to sleep, because guys, I've tracked my own data every day for years and years and years. I've tracked thousands of clients' data, as well as all of the studies that have been done out there. If you are not getting sufficient sleep duration, mainly sleep quality actually, you will honestly see your appetite spike the next day. So if we ever saw with a client on their sheet, on their metrics, sleep was 5 hours, 4 hours, maybe even 6 hours, but poor quality, the next day their appetite would be up at a 4 or 5 out of 5, when it may have only been a 1 or 2 before. So if you do catch yourself randomly with a high appetite, think, what was my lifestyle like? What was my sleep like? What was my stress like? And these are going to be huge causes. So keeping stress low, maximizing sleep quality, and just being disciplined with it. So like for me, I wake up at 3 a.m. just for work. That's what I like to do, my routine. I like to work when there's zero distraction. I could stay up till 11 at night, but then I'm going to have a huge impact on my focus, on my appetite, on my performance in the gym. I'm disciplined and I will be in bed between 7 and 8 p.m. every night. You may think that's weird. I don't, because nothing really good happens with my physique or with my business and my high value priorities after 7 p.m. So I would rather sleep, wake up early. Yes, I may be awake the same amount of hours in the day, but it just allows me to move forward with much more leverage with my physique, with my business, with my clients. And obviously it keeps my appetite in a really good position. Like I've gone, I don't know, maybe 6 weeks so far in this diet phase, and I found it so easy because one, I'm always busy, which ties into the next point. Stay busy. When you're always busy, you don't have time to think about food. Like I promise you, if you've got big goals and you're focused and you're in a work block, if I'm on discovery calls or I'm on business meetings, I'm training the team, I'm working with clients, I'm building out new modules in the university, I'm filming YouTube videos, I can't be thinking about food, craving food. I'm too focused on my goals. So stay busy. Usually what we'll see with clients is their appetite's fine all during the week, 1 or 2 out of 5. And then on a weekend when they're not doing anything and they're not working towards any big goals, or they're not consumed in their job, in the 9 to 5 or whatever, appetite on a Saturday or Sunday is a 4 or 5. Now this is because you're bored. Boredom is responsible for all vices, and hunger being one of them. So keep yourself away from being bored, keep your diary full, and just stay busy. Also on weekends, what I find, which leads into another point, is effectively the snacking. On a weekend, you're more likely to snack on the sugary foods, on the foods that aren't quite as good. And even if you can work them into your calories and macros, guys, I'm not the biggest recommender of it. And I'm not talking about this from a lifestyle balance perspective, because of course you could get a cookie and work it in 1-2 days a week and work it into your calories and macros. Of course you could. May hold a little bit of water retention, but nothing crazy. The reason I personally don't like to do it too often is because eating these bad foods will honestly spike your appetite and spike your cravings, and you'll want more. So the easiest way to avoid cravings, besides the sleep, besides the macro structure, besides having all the phases structured correctly, is just avoid and don't touch the bad foods, because the bad foods will make you want more. Like if I know I could have a donut right now and I'd be absolutely fine, but then I would want to go get more. I would then want to probably follow more bad habits. It will spike your hunger hormones so much. So I'm only, like, it's all about balance, guys, but I actually only recommend clients who are high level clients and extremely disciplined to actually eat from non-whole foods. So I know me personally, I could go and eat couple of scoops of ice cream and I would be straight back into my plan, and I would have calculated enough to work it in, and I'd be absolutely fine. And my discipline muscle has been trained so much over the years that I wouldn't need to go and deviate. I might want to in my head, but my muscle of discipline is that big. I'm not going to carry on a bad habit with another bad habit. Whereas what I find with people who are newer to it and they're starting out, or just haven't got into the elite shape just yet, and their discipline muscle's a little bit smaller, one bad move can start a very vicious spiral where they then may just go from having one donut or one chocolate bar, which in the scheme of things isn't that bad, but it triggers a very negative mindset and a hunger response that they can't then control, and one tiny thing spirals into 5,000-6,000 calorie surplus over a couple of days, which is really, really important. So make sure you do try and cut out the bad stuff as much as possible, and you will stop craving it. All right. When it comes to off-plan meals, again, just trying to pick the highest quality food sources that you can. Whole foods, like for me personally, if I'm going out for a meal, to stop my appetite spiking that much, what I'll personally do is go for as low a carb meal as possible. So if any of you follow me on Instagram at Tom D. Pearson, in my stories, if I'm eating out just with friends or networking, or if I'm out with the VIP clients, I'll be eating something like a steak, and I'll go 0 carb and I'll just get steak and veg, or salmon and eggs and veg, or something like that. And the reason being is it's high protein, high good quality fats, but that will keep my appetite suppressed because of the slower gastric emptying from the higher fats and keep the carbs out. If I was to go for these sugary sourced meals and then the desserts and start racking all this up, that's going to spike my appetite for the days afterwards and that evening, and it's just going to send me off on a spiral, right? Or could do, all right? And I don't want to be uncomfortable with a high appetite, so I make sure I manage all of these. Now, one other thing I've put on here, which is definitely a last resort for getting shredded, but can be used. I personally don't like it. I've used it once on a prep when I actually wanted to get really lean. I was about 4-5% body fat a couple of years ago, and I was doing a photo shoot and I used yohimbine. Now, yohimbine is something that natural bodybuilders will use in a diet phase. Personally, I'm not a fan of it too much. I have used it, but the thing with yohimbine, guys, is it can make you feel a little bit sick, a little bit nauseous. Some people, it doesn't phase them at all, and some people don't feel too great off it. So yohimbine can help with utilizing and burning the brown fat cells. So again, losing the body fat, getting down to 6, 7, 8% It's fucking easy, guys. If you just follow the principle, you hit your non-negotiables daily, weekly, monthly, it's easy. But if you wanted to get to them really low numbers and you've got some stubborn body fat, last resort, and you've got your food right down, your cardio's right up, your Himbind can help with that, for sure. And it can also suppress appetite just like it would with caffeine, if not a little bit more. Now, again, it's a last resort. I don't personally like to use it unless someone is trying to physically get below 6% body fat, or really is just struggling in the bottom end of a diet phase. It's a last resort because nutrition, training, recovery is going to do the majority of it. But I did want to mention it and be fully transparent. Your Himbind can be used to help with appetite management. So just to recap everything, guys, in order here, we've got starting off with a maintenance phase, really, really important. Optimize your performance, energy, health, recovery, and it starts the baseline from up here, and then you can work your way down. We then want to squeeze everything out of the lemon. So one step at a time, squeeze every bit of result out of each amendment, then make another amendment, squeeze everything out, then make another amendment, and don't try and do it all in one day. Give yourself 12, 16, 20 weeks, however much body fat you've got, and aim to be moving between the KPI of 0.5 to 1.5% of body mass per week, which for most lads is going to be between 1 and 2 pounds per week. Doesn't seem like much on average, but if you stack those wins and you don't miss and you do it week after week after week, then people look at you and will be like, what the fuck have you been doing? Da, 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 da. And you've just been sticking to it and you've just not missed. Okay, next thing, whole foods. Again, it's going to help with gut health. It's going to help with getting you a little bit more volume for the calories as opposed to just trying to hit calories and macros from all sorts of processed stuff and shit. And also you can push vegetable intake a little bit higher towards the back end of a diet phase, which will again give you a lot more volume, a lot more micronutrients for barely any calories if you're going for non-starchy veg. Macro structure, I am a fan of high carb, low fats for getting really shredded if I'm fully transparent, but that can spike appetite for some people. Usually the first time you diet, your appetite can be a little bit higher. Like me now, because I've dieted so many times, like I honestly can manage it easy. I just don't even get hungry anymore, whereas I used to. So I could go high carb, low fat if I wanted to. But for a lot of people, you could just go moderate carb, moderate fat, or even high fat, low carb. Or if you're a little bit more advanced and you like to manipulate things, one of the things we teach with some of the lads in the university or with the VIP guys when we do it for them is we'll go high carb, low fat, and then we can manipulate it when we need to just to manage appetite or deploy refeed days, etc. Water intake, make sure you're always getting enough water, especially if you're in a hot climate like here. It's about 40 degrees, sweating my tits off. Caffeine as well, natural suppressor of your appetite. Black coffee, 0-calorie Red Bulls, 0-calorie Monsters. Again, are they the healthiest things in the world? They're not bad if you're training daily, if you're getting cardio, you're getting steps in. As long as you're not sat there wanking off playing Xbox, drinking Monsters all day, you should be absolutely fine. But I agree, black coffee is definitely a better alternative. Or if you want to be a little white girl, maybe matcha. That's actually a really good source of caffeine, slow release. So if you're going out with a girl for a coffee, treat her to a matcha, and that will work very well with suppressing your appetite. Sleep quality, making sure you're cutting caffeine, making sure you are disciplined with the time you go to sleep. Always make sure you're getting up at the same time every morning. Keep that routine the same and then just reverse back. So if you know you need to be up at 5 in the morning and ideally you'd want 7 hours sleep, you want to be asleep by 10. So I would be getting into bed around 9, 9:30, no phones, cut out blue light before that so your melatonin production's not destroyed, and then you can get to sleep. And even if you're not tired, just discipline yourself. Don't pick up your phone, just allow yourself to get to sleep. When it comes to off-plan meals and I'm eating out, I go pretty much 0 carb, high protein with high quality fats, salmon, eggs, steak, fish, meats, all that sort of stuff. And then just removing the shit, remove the processed stuff. Like only, honestly, the really, really disciplined guys, I would recommend even dabbling with a bit of something, because like most people will have one bad move, which in the scheme of things isn't that bad, but it just sends them into a vicious spiral because it will absolutely skyrocket your hunger hormones. I'm absolutely fucking soaking. About 400% humidity. So they're the principles I would be following, guys. Keep it really simple. Start with the maintenance, work your way the whole way through the process. If you do need any help with this, guys, we teach everything in the most ridiculous amount of detail on taking your physique to your full potential inside the university. 200 plus videos. We teach you all the frameworks, coach you in the community, weekly calls, and we take you the whole way through the process. We've also got our VIP coaching where we do everything for you and just take you the whole way through the elite physique transformation. So if this is something you are struggling with, you just want to get the job boxed off, you don't want to waste time, you want the results now, that is something you can definitely explore for certain, and you can just check out the link in my bio. If not, I hope you're just taking an immense amount of value from this video. You will not fail if you apply these principles. And then, as always, guys, just the mindset to getting results is going to come from just ticking boxes every single day, understanding your reason why you want this, why you must get this result, all the benefits that are going to come from it, because getting in the best shape of your life with these principles where you're going to have more energy, better performance, you're going to feel better, more confidence, better self-worth, better focus, productivity, more confidence at work, and just excel in all areas of life. It's a different game when you get into that league, lads. And it's something that you should always be working on, in my opinion. So I hope you're taking a lot of value. Make sure you like and subscribe. Like I said, if you are interested in taking it to that top level, check out the link and make sure to drop me a follow on Instagram at Tom D. Pearson. Like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one, lads.